Hi there, this is Fergal McGovern of VisibleThread. Welcome to our first Customer Spotlight webinar of 2018. Apologies for the slight delay on getting started. We had some audio issues cracking on. So without further ado, I'll kind of introduce our speaker today. It's Michelle Keschel from Sales Automation Support. Michelle has actually got phenomenal depth and is more than able to kind of explain her background and how she's using VisibleThread. So I'm going to defer that for the moment. But what I'd like to do is just quickly share some operational matters. And if we can move to the next slide. So the webinar will last about 45 minutes. If you have any questions during the course of the webinar, please do use the questions facility. It's on the right-hand side within the GoToWebinar panel. We will be making the recording available for you after the webinar is done, so please don't worry too much about that. And we'll also make the slides available. We intend to have a Q&A at the very end where we kind of deal with any questions that have been asked. So again, don't be shy about the questions. And the final thing is that we do have a quick call once the webinar ends, just getting your feedback on how we did and what we can do better and so forth in these Customer Spotlight webinars. So we hope it adds a lot of value to you. If you're a VisibleThread customer, or indeed just checking us out and making sure and seeing what we can do for you. So without further ado, I'm delighted to introduce Michelle, and she's going to take it from here. Thanks very much, Michelle.
Thank you, Fergal. Good morning, everybody. Morning for us. I'm sure people are in a number of locations. Okay, so I'm Michelle Keschel. I'm the CEO and founder of Sales Automation Support. We specialize in bid and proposal management. We do federal, state, municipal, and we have a very healthy B2B practice as well. This is our 20th year in business. We have a lot of experience in civil, vertical and horizontal construction, utilities, municipal transit automation, for hire vehicle automation, federal background investigation contracts, and we work a number of verticals. But just to, for point of reference, we've automated the transit systems for 20 major cities, including Chicago, WMATA, Dallas, and others. If you step in a taxi or a limousine that has a Verifone system in it, we wrote the proposal for it no matter where it is in the world. We've been their exclusive proposal shop for, well, I think since 2004. In the federal background space, we've won multiple times the OPM contract, CBP, ICE, and others. We are headquartered up in Pewaukee, Wisconsin, but we've got people in a lot of locations. And with that kind of intro, I just kind of have to say, go, Pack, go. I wish that I had a little more strength with that this year, but let's move on to business and put football aside unless you guys have a horse in the race. So what I want to do today here in terms of explaining VisibleThread, how we use it, and I want to provoke some thoughts for everybody. We're going to cover the features we use most. I'm going to show you a couple of project examples where we use some VisibleThread on some solicitation documents. One example we're going to look at is a high hazard dam removal and wetlands restoration contract, and I want to show you a couple of really neat things that we've done with VisibleThread for these types of projects, including master format specification shred example. And for those of you who, I'm sure we have folks here who bid on a lot of different types of projects, but master format is the default here in the US for specifications for construction contracts. And then we're going to use another example, which is an electrical and natural gas utility privatization. And I want to talk a little bit about how we're using the tool to do contract management and transition due diligence for what is a 50-year period of performance. So we'll move into that in the later part of the program. Some of the objectives. What I'd like to show you is how you can accelerate and improve the accuracy of the information you're providing to the subject matter experts that are supporting your solutions and your proposal efforts, to engineering teams, contract management teams. I want to show you how you can use a tool to shred and extract information so that you can get subcontractor bid packages out, so that you can set up a system so that you can inspect bid items coming back from subcontractors for conformance and compliance, including how can you extract information that's going to let you look at and identify gaps in materials, labor, and the like. We use the tool as well, again, to review specifications and contract and engineering change analysis using the compare features. And then, as Fergal mentioned at the end, we'll answer some questions. Okay, so the features we use most. First thing I want to say is that one of the things that's great about VisibleThread is it is a true expert system, and the way you think about how you set up your environment, it provides you literally unlimited opportunities to automate the discovery across specifications, requirements, documents, and then your own material that you're sending back in for your bid responses. Okay, so I like to call it a true expert system, and the features that we use the most is the concept review, the quality review. We use the document compare, and we use document grading and readability. Today, I'm going to focus on concept review and quality review functions of VisibleThread in my examples, okay? Now, when we use VisibleThread, we use domain-specific, project-specific dictionaries, and that's where the real power comes in that you can define how you and what information is relevant, not just to you if you're the proposal manager or an author, but you can compartmentalize information for executive teams, for engineering teams, for subcontractors, and what the tool does is it gives you a really deep view very quickly, depending on how you've configured. Excuse me. Okay, so the first, I have a very sensitive mouse here on the desk. Okay, so the first example I want to use is Boardman Dam Project. And this is going to be an example of things that you're doing to help you to win the contract. That includes taking your initial look at the contract, make a go, no-go decision, queuing everybody up who's a decision maker with the information that they need. So just kind of an overview on this project is a high hazard dam up in Michigan. And powerhouse demolition and removal with 10 miles of wetlands restoration. The agency is the Army Corps of Engineers. And so I'm going to show you 3 examples of using VisibleThread. One is just a rough order of magnitude, in other words, the work that's required, a quick search that, type of thing that we'll do right away when we see an RFP, and we're taking a look at, are we going to bid this? Who are we going to need? Making those preliminary decisions on basically what is the rough order of magnitude of this project. The second example I'm going to show you is, a search to identify unique personnel requirements. And then the third example I'm going to show you here with this project is a master format specifications thread to extract the specifications for your engineering teams, subcontractor bid packages, and the like. So with that, let me get into the tool.
And just as Michelle is bringing that up, just the key point about all of this side and these examples that Michelle is going to talk about, these are really on the proposal side of the fence, the bid process itself. And the second set of examples that Michelle will talk about are on the contract award, the post-win phase. So just kind of showing the applicability to both sides of those elements.
Correct. So here we're in the VisibleThread interface, and some of you may have seen this, some of you may have done a demo with this, but just kind of looking at the functions I'm going to discuss here, I did want to note that if we wanted to go through all of the features of VisibleThread that you can use, we'd have to make this conference run from now until like Monday or Tuesday of next week. Okay, so I'm going to do some selective examples here. We're going to look at concept tracking, and we're going to look at the Boardman Dam Project. And the first question I want to know, or the first thing I want to do, is I want to get a good idea of the rough order of magnitude. So I've got a dictionary here set up, okay, with a simple set of terms that are relevant to me, relevant to my clients doing this type of work. So I'm going to take a look here at this document set. And the thing I like about the concept summary is that it lets me take a folder view, look at all these documents, and take a really good quick hit look at things that I want to see. So when I look at this project right away, I know we've got construction, we've got restoration, We have a demolition. We've got a lot of references to demolition in the specification. So I'm already getting a really good idea of some of the functions we're going to have to do on this project. I'm looking for certain things here like Primavera or P6. Now I know for a fact that we're probably going to have a scheduler who's doing Primavera. We may have to put the output back to the Corps of Engineers in an SDEF format, which is, you need Primavera to do that. Okay.
And Michelle, may I just jump in there very quickly again? Yes. For folks who may not be familiar with Primavera, that's a system in place for doing scheduling or for kind of getting things into place. And the dictionary that Michelle talked about that she showed very briefly earlier is really a way to kind of customize sets of search terms. So this is the list of search terms, and the view she's looking at with the individual columns, each column refers to an individual doc contained within that folder. So in effect, what this is doing is allowing Michelle very quickly to see, is Primavera talked about, or is the duration or demolition talked about? And if so, in which documents, to what extent? And then she can drill into those further, and I'm sure she'll be showing us that in a moment.
Exactly. So what I'm going to do here in this case is I'm going to just drop right in. I'm going to just select all the items here. Okay. And what's going to happen is it's going to show me a pane down here on the bottom of the search. Now, to understand the relevance of this is about 1,200 pages of material in this solicitation. So in just a few seconds, we just shredded through 1,200 pages of material to find these key terms that I want to see. Okay. Now, what I can do down here is I can take and I can export this into an Excel file. Now, I've already done this. Now, let me just pull it up. An example here. Bring it from the other screen. And so we can see here that it has highlighted all of the keywords that we are looking for in that particular dictionary. Okay. Now, I can also go through here and just as easily come back and say, I want to see not everything. I want to see that specific topic. I want to see P6 and Primavera, and I want to see where it's at in the document. Okay. So here, use of this product Primavera for scheduling is mandatory on this particular contract. So if that makes sense to everyone, I'm going to move on to another example. So the next example I want to see on this particular project, and again, I'm expecting to see certain things, and that's why my dictionaries are structured the way they're structured. I want to look at key personnel for this this particular construction project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set and use a different dictionary on my concept search, and I'm going to set it to my key personnel dictionary. Okay.
And again, just while Michelle is doing that, this idea of kind of having this exact same documents in the same folder and being able to switch the set of search terms that you're looking for is very powerful, because a moment ago we were looking for different characteristics like demolition. Now we're looking for, in the exact same set of documents, elements of personnel and personnel related stuff. So that kind of flexibility is really important in terms of use cases.
Exactly. And so I'm always, information is the key to winning, and making sure that the people who are developing the solution, it doesn't just all reside with the proposal team that's writing a proposal, and we write most of the content, but what we want the appropriate feedback from the appropriate people in the organization, and what we're trying to do is queue everybody up with the information that's most relevant to them. It's a 1,200 page set of specifications and instructions for submitting the bid on this project. Now, I can give that to everybody and all the responsible parties, but there's just no way that everybody has time to read through all 1,200 of those pages. So what we're doing is we're sleuthing out, and we are finding the things that are relevant and queuing that up to people. Now, one of the things that we ask all of our teams, the SMEs, the engineering teams, and the like, is there a concept, or is there a particular factor or a function you want to either know for sure is in the contract, or you want to know for sure we don't see it anywhere? Because your decision could be based on either of those two outcomes. So we'll solicit various keywords, make custom dictionaries and the like for folks. Now, I will say anecdotally, Fergal, I hadn't mentioned this to you, but as we get into our next contract example, I got an email from our client, one of the management team members, last night. Basic content was there's some confusion with our counterparts regarding certain contract requirements that they have to meet, and basically was the comment was, could you guys use that fancy tool of yours to do an extract, and so that we can forward those contract sites to this particular point of contact on the government side. And Ben White, who's another member user on my team, sent that out, I think, about 10 minutes after that email came out. So that's just another real world example of where our ability to do this type of stuff is very valued by our clients, and we all support. If we're writing proposals, we're supporting somebody. Okay, and that's the point I'd like to make. So with this particular search, what I wanted to show you, I'm not going to export it because I've already done that. But what I wanted to show is the example of what I thought I was looking for and did find. So I'm going to pull up the output from this one. Okay. And actually here it is exactly what I wanted to find. So because I know this is a demolition project, and I know this is a high hazard dam, meaning that a high hazard dam is one that if it's breached could cause significant loss of life or property downstream from the dam. And the fact that we're destroying the dam means we are breaching the dam. Okay, so safety is a big important part of that. But what I wanted to find out is, what are the rules for the safety officer? And here is exactly what I was looking for. So we can have a dual hat person that's a safety officer, except when we're demoing the dam. We have to have a separate safety officer. So immediately right here, this tells me we need another key person for this phase of the contract, and everybody needs to know that because we got to propose them and we got to price them. Okay.
And Michelle, just on this one, with the SSHO and so forth, it sounds like obviously the power in this report was to do with the search terms that you would configure in the tool. What effort was involved in getting those search terms into the tool in the first place?
Well, so you bring up a good point, Virgil. The effort is, and how we approach this is you got to just sit and think about each of them. We'll pull teams of people together, so subject matter experts, and we'll build those lists of terms. Now, for me, it's fairly easy because we've been doing this for 20 years, so I pretty much know what I'm looking for, where I'm going. But if you're just new to using a tool like this, is you want to just sit and kind of purposely design it. Start out with some smaller dictionaries. You don't necessarily need to capture every possible term first pass, because you're going to find that you will refine your searches as you get used to using the tool. Now, of course, the other thing you can do, Virgil, is just use some VisibleThread implementation services to help after you get set up on the project.
Okay, great. Sorry, I didn't mean to interject. Carry on. Okay.
So now, I'm going to move past this example. Now I have set up, we're going to move over and we're going to do some quality analysis now. Okay, so I've set up another series of documents. I've got a lot of dictionaries I'm going to run against this. And what I'm going to do here is, as I get over to quality analysis, I've set a different dictionary for each one of these specification documents. So this spec document's 455 pages. This is the actual construction specs, and it's in master format. That's how the Corps puts it out. Okay, so I've got 6 different master format dictionaries that have all the terms that's broken down through the entire sequence. And what I've got set here is I've simply just set the dictionary as a separate dictionary for each one of these. Yeah. And what I'm going to do very quickly, I would say it probably took me 15 minutes to name the files, get them up here.
And just before we get to that, Michelle, can I just ask again, because people won't be familiar with your domain as much as obviously you are, but what's the purpose of each of these dictionaries? What's the procurement contract dictionary, the div general, the facilities concept? What do they do? What kind of terminology would each of those be looking at?
Well, let's take a look at those dictionaries, okay? Yeah. So we're going to go up here, quality dictionary, and we're going to take a look at, let me get the list down. Let's take, this is the one that's going to be most relevant for this. So this is the site and infrastructure sequence of master format. Okay, so you'll see what it's doing here is in the dictionary we have each of the various divisions of work under this major division. Okay, site and infrastructure. Okay, and if we look through, okay, so commissioning of stormwater utilities, for example, go down in here, and it's gonna link to the key terms that we're gonna see when this is in the spec, okay, and then it's gonna give us the actual specification number in master format. This is division 330840. Okay.
So just so that we get this right, so effectively what we're seeing on the right is the full set of search terms in the dictionary. Each item on the right is what we call a group. So right now the group is called 33-utilities, and the term that we're searching for here is commissioning of stormwater utilities. That's kind of what we're doing, right? So we're going to search for that term. And if we were to expand some of the other stuff, what kind of stuff might we see there?
Well, here's one that I literally guarantee is going to be involved, and that's riprap. And for those that don't know what riprap is, riprap, when you look along a waterway and you see all the rocks, the big boulder rocks, that's riprap. Okay. And since we're doing a dam and we're doing a remediation, I'm sure we're going to use this for anti-erosion control. Okay. So now what we're looking at right now is the dictionary. Okay. So I'm going to come back up to the documents. Okay. I'm going to come back to the shred, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a compliance matrix. Now, the master format has about 11,500 search terms in it, the set of dictionaries. Okay. So I'm not going to, it'll take about 3-4 minutes. I'm not going to waste our time with that because I've already output this search. Okay. So I'm going to pull this up. Okay, and show you some of the really neat features when you use the quality and when you use the use separate dictionaries here. So the first feature I'm going to show you is each one of the dictionaries. So this is the first one, general requirements. Okay, or general requirements, contract requirements. Moving through this, what happens is it's going to give me a tab for each one of my dictionaries and all the search terms. Okay. Now the one I'm going to use as the example, because this is a heavy civil project, I'm going to use the site and infrastructure tab search. And you'll notice that it has highlighted all of the hits. Okay. And there's multiple ways that I can put this out, but what I'm looking at is all the hits here. Let me just kind of do this for folks.
And Michelle, I might just interject very quickly just to give people context on what they're seeing here. So this is the result of a shred of the 8 or so documents or 6 or so documents that Michelle had in that folder, each one using a different set of search terminology. Each tab in the Excel output is actually reflecting one document. And if you look at the example right now, column F is a breakout. It's a shred of all the content in that document with the individual item flags that we're searching for. In this example, earthwork, dewatering. So column F is really the kind of the sparsing out of the document. And then where you get the color coding with the yellow background and the red text, it's where we see paragraphs or sentences with the terms that we're looking for. So it's really a decomposition of the overall document. And one final thing about this, if there are customers out there, this is a new capability that we introduced in version 2.14, which came out last November. For those customers who are on current subscriptions, you can upgrade to this for free for sure. And it allows you not just shred one doc, but in one click you can shred multiple documents. And that's exactly what Michelle has done here. We shredded all 6 documents, and she happened to be using a different dictionary per document. And that's where we got this example. So it's really, really fast, and it's 10,000 pages or whatever the number is, shredded in a couple of minutes.
Exactly. And so looking at this, I want to note here, you see these 1 and 2 buttons for these macros up here. If I hit button number 1, it will suppress all of the non-hit paragraphs within the specification, and it'll show me just the items that have hit. Okay. So now for me, I get a lot of information by just bruising right through these as soon as I do an extract. Okay, I'm already seeing requirements. and I know where these requirements need to go, which teams. And in my example earlier, when I said, how you can quickly prepare bid packages, for example, for your subcontractor. So, it would be typical that you're going to have a subcontractor that may manage the dewatering, okay, specifically, and another that's going to do seeding. Heavy Civil is going to do the grading and all the earth moving work and the demo. But what I can do here very quickly is, instead of sending all of these bid documents out to everybody that I want to bid, I can shape exactly what I want them to bid on, and I can shape exactly how I want them to bring that bid format back. So if we set up a bid sheet for what we want our subcontractors to bring back in, and I use these keywords, I can subsequently search on all the material that all of the subs have brought back, and I can make sure that there aren't any gaps. They quoted the cost of the materials, the riprap, the fill, seeding, sod, all those types of things, okay? And it also is showing me really good intel on what kind of materials, okay, I'm going to need. So when you think about a project like this, and you can translate this type of level of depth to literally almost anything that you do, but on this project here, you're going to be doing sod. Well, you're not going to be doing sod that you bring from Alabama to Michigan. You got to find a supplier, and you're going to do 10 miles of riverway. So you're trying to find all kinds of things right now. That's where it goes to the engineering teams and the bid teams so that they can start sourcing this stuff. Now you'll notice right here, it says engineer's estimate, okay, that we're going to need 11,700 cubic yards of this particular material, okay? I have another search that I go right that pulls engineer estimates, okay, and outputs all of that. So you kind of you slice and dice, and that's why I said it's an expert's tool. So you get the right people, you design the right sets of dictionaries, and you can just automate just a whole lot of work on the contract. So I'm going to go ahead and move to our next example because we're going to run out of time if I don't. These will be a little bit, I've got some sanitized material that I'm going to show you. Okay, let me get the presentation back up. Okay. So the next project here we're going to use as an example is privatization of electric and natural gas utility systems for Joint Base San Antonio. We have been working on this contract for 5 years. It was awarded to our client, which is San Antonio, and CPS Energy. The city of San Antonio owns CPS Energy. CPS Energy is the largest municipal power generator in the country. And so what we're looking at here, and this is kind of just to really kind of introduce you to the power of other ways of using the VisibleThread tool. So our scope of work under this is we're going to purchase these systems, okay? And in the bid process, we had to build up a fair market value for all of the assets in the natural gas and electric systems out at all of these installations. And so, you can imagine there's well over 1 million components that we're taking over. Okay, we also had to build up a 50-year renewal and replacement plan, and we had to build up an operations and maintenance plan for all of these assets for 50 years with a preventive maintenance inspection schedule and the like. Okay, I stress the 50-year period of performance in the sense that we already know we're going to cycle 7 or 8 management teams through this contract over the next 50 years. So it is our mission with the client and the due diligence teams that are setting this up is we're trying to set up a contract process for managing this contract, and all of these requirements is going to last for 50 years, okay? So that as people move in and out of positions, we don't have to bring them all up to speed again. On this particular proposal effort, we had over 50 people who were all active participants in this. And of course, with a 5-year sales cycle, we have turnover. So what we're in the phase right now, we're actually in our transition. It's a 15-month transition. And so the examples I want to just show you real quickly is some of the things that we do to extract information from the QOSP, the contract, the statement of work, check the final contracts, and split out information for all of the different teams that are supporting this, okay? Because we've got multiple divisions within the organization that are servicing various respective parts of these utilities. And then the second example I want to show you quickly is how we'll extract information and then move this into other into other products like Microsoft Project, Excel to do mapping, look at assignments, plans, and SOPs. Okay, so let's come back over here to our tool. All right, so let's go up here to the 50-year utility privatization, and I've sanitized a lot of this material here, but you can see we've got a lot of various documents that are all part of the contract, the requirements, the plans, and everything else that we have here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use a dictionary here. I'm going to do actually concept searches on this one because I'm pushing certain things of information out. And the dictionary I'm using right now, use a different one here. Okay, I call this basically my technicals dictionary, but this is customized to certain specific teams, and this is specific to various tasks that just have to be done during the transition. So we were able to output all of this information literally within 2 days of winning the contract and getting our meetings together with everybody who's doing the transition stuff. But if you can see here, a lot of times we use the grid and then we'll pull things out that are very specific to particular departments, okay? So all of the information with respect to accounting, insurance, risk, that went all to those groups. Asset management, where we're dealing with our GIS, our maps, locating, finding all of the assets that are out there. So if I was to just pick these items here, system's not a good one though. Let's pull up our GIS data. So when I send this material over to the GIS department, we're finding here everything that interfaces to GIS, but we're going to have certain things like as-builts, diagrams, maps, all of these pieces. So I'm able to push this out very quickly to GIS, then come back, support another meeting with another transition group, looking at communications, okay, which includes channels, permissions, for things like that. Some basic deliverables and reports, okay. Electrical system items. We also use this to help find inventory, reconcile inventory documents as we're doing this process that we take in from the government, okay. Very hot environmental issue, PCBs, okay. Spill compliance. So the way I use this then is I simply select the ranges of items that I want to get to the right subject matter experts or the right departments within the organization, okay. I export it and I shoot that sheet out to them. Okay. Now the next thing I want to just show real quick, I can quickly come right back in here, do another concept search, and here I want to look at reports and deliverables. Okay.
So this is a good example of Michelle changing the search criteria effectively in one fell swoop across a wide range of documents in that folder. In this case, it looks like roughly 30 documents or so. Mm-hmm. And look at it with a different lens, a completely different lens, and get the reports out from that. So different terms with different combinations of documents get to be very powerful. It allows you almost to slice and dice and shred almost at will.
Correct. And I will tell you that this set of documents is about 4,000 pages all total. Okay. So that quickly, I'm looking through all of these pages and I'm looking for, events first, requests and permission. That tells me what services are being requested, what we need permission to do, our instances of all of our plans. We have about a dozen annual plans that we have to update every year on this contract, and they're not necessarily the standard ones. It includes capacity design plans, renewal replacement plans, new construction, new connections, okay? So what we do with this, I want to just show you a couple of things that I've sanitized. This is really an internal planning tool for our team, okay? When we pick this, we output it. We use it then to come and do things like this, okay? to export this into other work products where we can come through, and I've blocked some of this stuff out, but here are all of our requirements. Okay, 148 different types of events. And then here we're assigning those to our people internally who are doing this by name, and then the other divisions that are supporting this. So everybody's getting a different set of assignment maps and projects. Okay. We then take this material and we'll bring it, for example, over into a planning tool, or in this case, I bring it over into Microsoft Project, and I map all those positions. And once you get the base data, now you start doing import, export. You can move the stuff into an Access database, and you can write a query. You can output it, okay, really quickly and easy. But here's where everybody's just straight and level 8 hours per task right here, because this is sanitized. But here we can come in and start doing labor estimates by task per job function, and then build up our level of effort, internally for PMO management, for example. And you can use this for literally anything. I use this process to also calculate labor for managing federal buildings, so all the operations and maintenance, complete facilities management, and it just moves fast. Last year we put over 200 federal buildings under contract with our clients. So data management, finding what you want to find quickly, supporting all the people who are doing the solution on your team. To us, that is the most powerful functions here. But then all of the other features, which I would encourage everybody to learn more about, but the readability analysis of your documents, the discovery functions, and then just some of the great little features. Show me the changes between one contract document and the next one is great for tracking on amendments. If the government doesn't highlight those things for you when they come out, it'll spot it for you pretty quickly. And then also the acronym building function, just lots of great little automation tools. But for us, the big thing is drill down with specificity so that you have a better solution, better plan, better pricing, and then when you go to execute the contract, you execute it in the system, the way, the intent, and the results you described for why you won the contract in the first place. So, Virgil, I've said my piece here for today's presentation.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Michelle. That was really, really great and very, very helpful. I do realize that for people who are new to VisibleThread, you've seen a lot of detail here, a lot of insights and information. Not all of it may have made a whole lot of sense in the context of kind of being able to understand exactly how the tool works. But the purpose of this session was really to give you some insight as to how it affects from a business standpoint and how it maps back to the actual tool. We did focus very clearly on dictionaries and the value of dictionaries in the context of the examples that Michelle spoke about. And I would just recommend that if anybody wants more questions or has a need for kind of any help around the dictionary side of the house, certainly do reach out to us. Any existing customers, please reach out, and we'll set up some calls and help you understand more in depth how they get those dictionaries working in your benefit. We did have some questions, so let me just see if I can figure out how to undock the panel so I can read out some questions. And I answered, and we kind of got around to some of these privately on the chat, but I'll just kind of repeat these because they're very interesting and useful. One question came from Adam: are languages other than English also supported? And he went on to clarify that the intended language was Norwegian, and my answer there was yeah. Languages like French, German, Dutch, and so forth are absolutely fine, and you can use dictionary searches to actually do exactly the same thing as Michelle has talked about here. In fact, one of my favorite examples is US customers who are writing for a UK audience, and they often use a dictionary which is a US English dictionary. Show me all the occurrences of color, C-O-L-O-R, because guess what? You need to call it C-O-L-O-U-R on this side of the world. So it's interesting how dictionaries are used. The second question, so from Neil, it looks like Michelle is using her dictionary across multiple documents under concept tracking, excuse me, is that the case? And just to remind people, concept tracking is very useful because it gives you the ability to look at multiple docs in conjunction with each other using a set of search terms in that dictionary. And Michelle was showing really two examples. One was, cross-cutting all these docs, and we find that particularly useful for things like resume reviews, for things like identification of labor rates and labor categories, and Michelle's examples, of course, were equally valid. She also used quality analysis, and in particular, one of the outputs she used was a new output that we have in our latest release, which is being able to shred multiple documents in one click, and that's really, really powerful. A lot of our customers are very keen on that. Another question, are the dictionaries created by the user? So the answer to that is a shade of gray. We ship with a number of dictionaries that are very useful and very convenient, and we built those up over a period of time. Classic dictionary would be a typical compliance matrix like a will, shall, must type dictionary, which everybody in this audience, I suspect, needs to use to create a fairly quick compliance output. But then other dictionaries like FAR checkers, for extracting FAR clauses, federal acquisition requirement clauses, or DFARs, or you might even use them for procedurals, although it depends on how the documents are structured. But those dictionaries are also shipped, the FAR dictionaries, and in fact, we expose those on our website. We have a thing called the Dictionary Marketplace, and it's something that we're trying to build more depth into. And some of the dictionaries that Michelle has actually worked with in the earlier stages of her adoption of the tool are actually out there on the construction sector, so you can kind of download some of those as well. Question from Nicole, is there a function to search documents for the client? So again, search, if you think about search generally and dictionaries, I mean, most people, when they think about search, they think about Google search or Control F5 in Word. In effect, that's what dictionaries are. They're really searching across one or more documents. So my immediate answer, Nicole, is that yes, but if you want to kind of engage in a little bit more detail, why don't you kind of ping us later and we'll set up a follow-on session if that would help. Tom is asking, how long does it take for your team, Michelle, to build their libraries? Could I just pass that over to you and maybe you could kind of give us some sense on that?
Well, to build the libraries, it depends on what library you're trying to build. So, for example, the master format library is very extensive. It took us literally no time to build it because when I was speaking with Fergal and the folks at VisibleThread, and I said, this is a very, very, very valuable library and dictionary, they built it. So that actually the master format dictionary is available on the marketplace, and it's a newer release. It's been how long ago? About 2 months ago, it was completed. Fergal started talking about it earlier in the year. Yeah,
the back end of 2017 it was published. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like that search, the search that I use for doing ROM or key personnel, you literally 15 minutes. You're set up. When you set up the document in the library, one of the reasons I use concept search more necessarily than I use quality is because I'm usually going in a very narrow search schema that I want to know about certain topics, and then I'll just do another dictionary and another dictionary, or I'll add to my dictionary as I'm looking at the results that I'm seeing. But the time it takes to set items up, and when you think about the dictionaries that are already available with a lot of compliance terms, FAR terms, colloquialisms, and things like that, most of that stuff you just pull right in.
Right. Okay, brilliant. And I guess my only comment, just from experience working with some of our strategic accounts, is that dictionaries don't just magic out of the sky, but actually the challenge isn't necessarily getting them set up in VisibleThread docs. That's easy, actually. That's really simple. Actually, dictionaries come out of people's brains, people's heads, their experience.
Yep.
And if typically what we recommend is, let's just do a whiteboarding session. Let's, so indemnification, risk-based clauses. What kind of clauses are you looking for? Well, everybody worth their salt knows that they need to go search for indemnification, warrants, period of performance. So if you're looking at a dictionary around kind of the delivery side of things, or around what kind of considerations you need to consider for that, that'll fall out pretty quickly. Equally, technical subject matter dictionaries tend to fall out pretty quickly along certain domains. So again, if you're a very large company, you've got multiple divisions, each division is dealing with certain customers or certain types of areas, then you'll have a dictionary probably per domain. So your domain, Michelle, is civil engineering, and you have some other domains that you're working very actively in. you'll tend to have probably one or more dictionaries per each domain, and you'll repeat that for each of the customers in that domain. Is my best guess.
Exactly. I have a security services dictionary that covers all types of security. I have a facilities management maintenance dictionary that I'm looking for responsibility thresholds, dollar values for specific types of equipment, like chillers and things like that. So, and Fergal, you make a really good point. Everybody's risk is different depending on what type of business you do. Okay. So things that might not seem like a risk to others could be the thing that ruins your whole day year. Okay, so this stuff comes out of people's minds, and that's why I said we sit down, we sit with our clients, we map these things out, do searches, come back, we're refining them all the time.
And I think the big side effect, there's kind of two side effects. One is that you are giving an extremely high quality output to your clients in your context. But the second thing is that it's democratizing what's in people's heads. So the best people will have this information already. They're already doing it. They're doing it by hand. They're doing it by, they're experts. What we are able to see then is that you're systematizing that process. You're making it a higher level output, a higher quality output, because you're getting what's in people's heads, the experts, into a more repeatable format for anybody to start to get the insight. And that's a big deal. That's behavior change across the organization. So for our bigger customers, that's one of the main advantages. It's quality control and quality improvement across the organization.
True. And Fergal, I wanted to mention one thing that I forgot to mention. So I've showed so many examples of how we're using this to support projects for our clients, but we also have another separate dictionary that we use in-house. So we're a little bit unique as a proposal management firm in that probably 95% of every project we do at a firm fixed price. Before we ever start, we'll bid a firm fixed price. And so we use it to analyze the documents to make sure that we're accurate and can get our client the best price. It's going to be a firm fixed price, but we want to make sure we fully understand all of the work that has to happen. And I'm sure a lot of people are looking at the tool. If you're a proposal manager, that's probably one of the first places that you're going to start. And I didn't even mention that, but we're using that all the time to just assess what work has to be done to go win it.
Perfect. Fantastic. That's a great point. Just getting some of these other questions. So Gordon asks, it's kind of a repeat, I think, a little bit of what we've talked about. Do you have multiple functional dictionaries for each customer? In your case, it sounds like maybe you have one dictionary per sector, perhaps, or would it be by customer?
Really, well, if it's by customer, if it is very unique. So for utility privatization, it's very unique. It's very specific utilities, very specific geography, very specific functions, and they're just really rare projects. It's the only kind of 50-year project that the federal government ever lets out.
Right.
So that one's completely unique for utility privatization. But security is the same, facilities management, those are the same dictionaries I use for all of those types of contracts.
Okay, good stuff. So I suppose it's case by case. It just depends, the answer there. Darren asks, so the dictionary is already integrated into the tool and/or you can add new ones, question mark. Yeah, so I guess I'll answer that. So we do ship with a number of very useful pre-canned dictionaries, the classic kind of will, shall, must type dictionary. We ship with some risk dictionaries like indemnify, indemnification, and so forth. And then, of course, to Michelle's point, you start to customize those. You either take them forward and actually duplicate them and start to customize those, or you start to build fresh dictionaries, again, based on sectoral specific things. It might be domain, technology stuff. And when I talk about tech or domain specific stuff, I love the example again, the riffraff. Was it riffraff? Was the example, Michelle? What was the term that you used?
Riprap.
Okay, and that's new on me, but that's the type of stuff that only so well, and then it has an implication. You see that you need to get certain contractors involved, and you need to get certain domain expertise involved. So those dictionaries would be domain specific and quote unquote technical type dictionaries, the area of execution, what the contract is actually about, as opposed to some more general dictionaries which might be risk and compliance type dictionaries. Period of performance program management dictionaries tend to be, the same dictionary for multiple different programs, whereas a more customer specific or sector specific one will tend to be for that particular area. A question from M. Alonso. How do you find the dictionary construct site or the marketplace? Sorry, I didn't make that clear. So if on the VisibleThread website, You go to the product section, which is the top level area. Underneath that, there's a dictionary marketplace kind of sub menu, and you can find them there. If we don't need the complete functionality of this tool, can we define our needs and get a tool tailored for us at a lower cost? Good question, Jonathan. So right now, how we sell VisibleThread is that we sell it as a complete tool. We don't have a kind of a substrata, if you will, from a pricing standpoint. So certainly chat to one of our sales reps or send us a mail at info@visibleThread.com. We'll kind of give you kind of a costing and a quote on that. Good stuff. Okay, that's pretty much all the questions. It just leaves me to say, and sorry, we've run a little bit over time, so thanks so much for everybody's attention on the call. I hope you found it interesting. Please do fill in the poll at the end. You get it automatically for you. And finally, may I just say, Michelle, really appreciate all the work that you've done in this area, because you've spent a lot of time on this. So really, million% thanks. And until the next time, thanks for everybody's attention, and we'll see you again.
Thank you.